buildings who look like us, and that has to stop.
Thank you very much. Last question dealing with crime. Can the residents and businesses in East New Orleans look forward to community policing, and if so, how long will you be in office before they can expect you to at least begin implementing that?
Well, let me tell you, I don't want to step out and say I will push community policing. I think community policing is a technique and a form of fighting crime. But I'm not an expert. I'm a former corrections officer, but I'm not a police chief, or I'm not even in law enforcement. So I can't say that that's the best way of doing things. I think it's one of the crime fighting techniques that can be used. I want to make sure that we ask the new police chief these type of questions. What are your plans? What can you do to decrease crime? Now, as a city councilman, I know it takes money. We have to be able to stop the attrition on the police department, police officers leaving and going other places. We have to provide jobs so people don't get involved in criminal activity. We have to fund NOR to give our young people an option. We have to do things for our seniors to give them an option for them to have a quality of life. We have to do a lot of different things. Community policing has worked in many other places, but as far as being an expert on that, that's something that I personally can't say, and I'm not going to try to tell you that's the right thing to do because I'm not an expert. But working with the new police chief, I want to make sure that he or she has a strong plan to address the criminal activity, and also working with the DA to keep the bad people behind bars.
Community policing and whatever kind of policing is going to be done in New Orleans, to a significant extent, is going to be determined by the police chief and the administration. But I would be an advocate of community policing. One of the things that I think we can do as a council, and one of the things that we should be doing, is making sure that whomever is the police chief, they put more than one quality of life officer in the communities, and especially a community or a district the size of New Orleans East, Lower Ninth Ward, and Desire, Florida. We should have multiple quality of life officers who are working directly with community organizations, neighborhood organizations, creating the Crime Stop programs. Every neighborhood, every community should have a Crime Stop, an active, functioning Crime Stop program. Those are the kinds of activities that I will be promoting. Those are the kind of activities that I promote now as a community leader, and those are the kind of activities that I promoted as a state senator. I will be doing even more as a member of the city council, because it is the city that has the primary responsibility of providing police protection. When I was a senator, we had a substation of the levee board in eastern New Orleans that I was able to convince the levee board to bring to our community.
Thank you very, very much, Mr. Johnson. As you're aware, education is a priority now in the state of Louisiana, especially since there have been massive cuts to higher education. If you would, beginning with Representative Johnson, address several questions that our students have regarding education.
Education is a vital force in the economy. Will you please explain in depth your plans for education in District E?
You said Rep. Johnson,
yes.
Me or he?
I'll take it. As far as the city council person, the city council person has a limited role to play in education, other than serving kind of as a community leader, or utilizing your position as a bully pulpit. You don't control the school board, you don't control the amount of money that comes from the state, or any of those kinds of things. But I certainly would take a very strong position on properly funding public education in my district. as I did as a senator. I would not be a part of an effort to take money that is earmarked for public education to give it to private schools the way my opponent did. I would not do that. I think the money that comes to public education should be used for public education. Specifically in the district, there's a need for more high schools. We need a high school in the lower Ninth Ward. We need high schools in New Orleans East. I will be a very strong advocate of those efforts. And we have already started working with groups in New Orleans East and in the Ninth Ward to bring high schools to that community that the Recovery organization came in and stole from the Orleans Parish School Board.
My opponent is talking about the scholarship program, otherwise known as the voucher program. And I'm proud to say that I did that bill. You know why? Because my opponent, he complains about the bill and he tries to chastise me on the bill, but he did the same bill long before I even got to the legislature. He's not telling you that. But I'm proud of that bill. You know why? Because every recipient of that voucher or scholarship looks just like everybody in this room. Everybody in this room. Black families who are trying to get an education, a quality education for their kids. And I'm proud of that. And I'll stand on that very fact. When I went to Baton Rouge and they presented me with that legislation, it didn't say Republican or Democrat, it didn't say black or white, it said families. And he did the very same bill years ago, but he's not telling you that. And I did it because our families needed it. And then all of the opponents were against the bill, and when I went over to Dryad's YMCA, you know, I was chastised because it was supposed to be a white male Republican bill. All of the people in there looked just like us. And then last year, at the sign-up, all of the people looked just like us. But the other part of the question is, I will work with Secretary Arnie Duncan to work with him to get a new high school built in the lower Ninth Ward.
Thank you very much. Additional questions on education?
Equity in the allocation of funding for rebuilding has become a major issue of concern for District E government. For example, Holy Cross received $43 million in recovery fund to build a new state-of-the-art school outside the Lower Ninth Ward. While the rebuilding of public high schools in the Lower Ninth Ward and New Orleans East were never seriously considered, what have you done and will you do to ensure that the allocation of federal and state funds is utilized to rebuild public high schools in District E?
Well, the federal and the state funds, I am going to use the voice and the contacts that I have to make sure that those dollars are not reallocated to any other type of program or project or activity. They should be used specifically for what they were sent here for. Part of our problem nationally is a lot of the money that was sent here by the federal government was reallocated. And so when you have those kind of issues, people utilizing money that was sent for one thing and going to something else, it limits the level of trust in the federal government for what is being done here in New Orleans. I want to make sure that those dollars are utilized for public education to rebuild the structures, not the way that they were before, because our people have gone to other places. They've seen these, what I call a wow factor. You go to these places and you be like, wow, look at this, wow, look at that. And so we need to build bigger, better, and stronger. We need to make sure that our customers, our children, have the best facilities, the best trained teachers, the best activities, and everything that they need to be able to compete in a global environment. I said I was the chairman of the House Education Committee.